Welcome everybody, and the public. Thank you for attending, council staff, councillors. This is day 2 of our hearings and deliberations on the long-term plan. We adjourned yesterday. We started yesterday with the karakia, so we will not be starting today. This is a continuation of yesterday's meeting. A couple of quick admin items before we get into our first presenter of today. Welcome to Councillor Leonard, who is online, and Councillor Rankin will join us shortly. We have apologies from Mayor David and Councillor Westerman, who are unable to be here today. I'll move the apologies. Can I have a second for that? If you're all in favour. Thank you. Just a couple of quick admin things. If in the event of an emergency we need to leave, follow me. Either the doors, feel free to walk outside. That's because I get up and go to the bathroom. Don't follow me. It's reasonably echoey in here, so it would be great if we could have everyone's phone on silent or turn it off, preferably. And if we could have everyone else quiet while our speaker is presenting, so we can hear them and give them their time and respect while they're presenting to us. The microphone is in the middle of the table. I'm not sure how sensitive it is. I'm trusting it's picking up our voice. I see Tina online. Can you hear us all right?
Yes.
Oh, well, there we go. So, put my voice up from here. The way this will work for those who are presenting this morning, we have 5 minutes to present. Then we'll bell, and then there will be time for questions after that. Dana is going to be organising us, so she will let you know when it's your turn to come up. A couple of people who are on our list are not available today, but we will run things as smooth as we're able. So thanks everyone for being here. Let's begin with day 2. First up. Yeah, come sit at the table here. Thanks. Presentation. No, it's not the Spanish Inquisition, you'll be fine.
Thank you, Councillor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about our wonderful village of Whanganua. The whole essence of my submission is around about processes. One of the problems I think we have in our communities is the fact that many of the activities that council pushed upon us during the year are actually almost a fait accompli. The consultation process actually starts in a lot of cases afterwards, and it's not even had. A couple of cases that were case of interest is with the tree planting. That process, that piece of land that was planted has been mowed and looked after by the actual owners around that. I know because I used to be the mowing contractor and I used to do it as a part of that. Now they weren't included, they've been cleaning up the edge of that bush for a long time, looking after it. Some of them have actually planted it. The council comes along and all of a sudden plants it all out, wide strip, right along there, without any consultation with the owners. Who's going to look after it? It's got to be maintained for at least the next 10 years. Otherwise, Blackberry's going to take it over, and Wars, which was there before, is going to take it over. So there needs to be buy-in by the community on what council does. And the only way that's going to happen is if council starts talking to the community prior to coming up with these schemes. They only need to consult with the community. They need to consult with the owners of the adjoining any properties. It's a very simple process, but it's not actually happening. And that's been, I've been at Whareroa now since its inception, and the same problem has occurred all the time. And I think it's time that the council changes its processes a wee bit and becomes more community minded. I'm sorry to have to say that, but I don't believe the council is community minded. It's all about building statues. It's all about, I know Taupo looks absolutely magnificent. I have no issues with it whatsoever, but there are problems. The other thing is, I've handed out a letter that came to one of my residents regarding their rates. Now, those people just moved into the property 5 weeks ago. They have no intention of using it as a B&B, even though when they bought it, it has a kitchen downstairs and it has a bathroom downstairs, but they bought it for their retirement, just to live it. They bought it because of the situation of the property, they liked it, they want to be in Whareroa, and it was a property available to them. Now, the council here in this letter has assumed that that's going to be run as a business. And I don't think at all that's correct. Looking at the way the rates are at the moment, about $3,300, they're going to go up to about $3,800 or $3,900, I should imagine, in the next, after this round of things happen. But I would like to know that the communication with this particularly between the council and these people, it's a communication problem. If the council had actually, they rang council and asked them, because they were doing a budget, both pensioners, and they're doing a budget. This is what they came back with for next year, proposed for next year, what's proposed. Now, this is just a straight out assumption. If they're running it as a business, I have no issues whatsoever. If you're running this as a business, that's a fair call. Because you're going to be putting extra service strain on the services. But if it's just a family home, like every other family home, why would you suddenly be lumbered with the extra rates? It's because you've got a kitchen that's downstairs. I think the council needs to look at Airbnbs and B&Bs and all those sort of things as either being, you're either in business or you're not. If it's a business, it's all tax deductible and they can do all the things that a normal business can do. But if it's not, and it's not going to be done, there should be some sort of exemption that they can take up to cover these situations. I'll finish there, but I think it's the processes that I'm concerned about, and I think council needs to start the process off with the community right from the beginning when they go in. And I know what council staff are like. They'll quite often come up with a dream. They seem to dream up all these ideas and get on with it, but they've still got to communicate with the community. The community, you're here for the community. The community is here for you. So we're happy as a community to get stuck in and help, but we do not like being left out and then find things are not going to work. Some of the contractors at the moment too, by the way, are a little bit left to be desired. You get these guys coming out from Downers, there's two people in the truck, they spend the first 15, 20, 30 minutes sometimes sitting in the truck, and that's happened more than once. Then they go and do a job, then they bugger off, and there's another job right next door to them. Sure, one might be electrical and one might be water or one might be something else, but they're just leaving the village. And then you find that they haven't even looked at the...
Steve, that's your problem, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any questions? Thank
you, Stephen. I'm quite surprised at your negativity towards council, considering how valued our relationship with you is and how long you've been involved and with the Whareroa community. So I'm really sad about that. Can I just ask you, with the downers contractors, do you actually ring downer and complain rather than come
Yes.
to us and complain?
Sorry?
Did you ring downers and complain about their staff
No,
rather than come to
no,
us?
not at all.
Well, you should.
I've
I
always
would
gone
suggest
to,
that
I've
if you
always
want to
gone to council.
complain about people, that you call the companies concerned, but I take on board your comments.
Any complaints, any comments and complaints I have with the council.
Well, downers are not an in-house council business, so you should bring downers.
Is that right? And they're employed by the council.
No, they're not, they're contractors.
All right, hang on.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, are there any other questions?
They're doing council work.
Yeah, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm interested in that too, actually, because I'm faced with that. I have that too.
Yeah,
And I'm interested, have you asked the question, and I'd like to know the answer to myself actually, because a lot of it, if you put out the sink or block it off or something like that, does that exclude the whole thing? I'm interested in what staff can tell about ways around this.
Now, I need to stop you.
That's
Asked
the
a
question.
question of clarification of
Yes.
the presenter, please.
I'm asking, have you asked staff, or have these people asked the
Yes.
staff advice on how they can wangle out of it, if you like?
yes,
Yeah.
it doesn't appear that they can wangle out of it.
They can't wangle.
At this stage, I don't think the processes are there to wangle out of it.
So I can help with that because I've faced this issue a number of times with a number of others who have approached me, and the rates are struck on a separately inhabited unit
Yes,
based on not the use of that, but the configuration of it. And to meet that, there is a number of criteria which are set out in the letter. If one of those criteria are not met, then it falls below the definition, then the additional rates do not apply. It's actually a really simple formula. So if they disconnect one of those things, then that separately inhabited unit definition would not apply, and the additional rates might apply accordingly. It's really simple. I've had this before.
No, it just
So
needs-
I encourage you to communicate that back to them. We'll be in touch with council staff. We'll be able to resolve that for them.
I think the thing is, they came to me. They came to me because they've had a fairly negative response from council.
I'll take my responsibility as being a positive response, and there is an opportunity for them to remedy that.
And besides, I'm not actually negative to the council. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying that I think the processes need to change. They do. Porirua gets good service out of the council as far as things go, and I thank the council for that. But there's still room for improvement as far as communication is concerned. It's all about relationships. The whole thing's about relationships.
Councillor Wilson.
How have you found the consultation communication through this last long-term plan?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, and we get really good service from our Mar and Gillian and Claire, I think it is. We get really good service from them. I mean, that's not what I'm complaining about. That's fine. That's really well done. And I think one of the best people for communication, well, not at Porirua, is the lady that comes, Marama, who comes out and does the toilets and does that, because if she sees anything wrong, she comes and sees me and says, "Hey, Steve, something's happening down here that I haven't seen," and she's really, really good. I think sometimes that's the communication thing. As I say, Porirua itself, we get really good. We're lucky. We're actually lucky with our revenues, and we're lucky with a whole lot of things. But we do, as a community, put time into it. A lot of time.
And thank you for your time this morning. Message received.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Our next is Mary Brandon. Well, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mary Granger. Thank you for allowing me to come and talk to the forum today. I live in Kurito and I'm speaking on my own behalf. You will have all received my submission by now about the bins versus the bag. So I'm just going to emphasise some of the points that I think are very important. According to the last government's waste management strategy, what is driving the push for bins to be introduced Households in urban areas will have a standardised recycling service by 2027 and a household food scraps collection by 2030. Now, as I understand it, we already have a standardised recycling service. We have black and blue bins. The strategy also defines an urban area, and it says this: urban areas in relation to these proposals follow the Stats New Zealand definition of settlements with a population greater than 1,000 residents. Therefore, a Māori Kurito is not an urban area. And then it says that by 2030, all councils have to provide food scrap bins, all garden waste, to households in urban areas. Once again, a Māori Kurito is not an urban area. We have a number of outlying areas around the district: Kinloch, Motuapa, Hātipi, Māori Kurito, Whareroa. None of them would be classed as urban areas, according to the government's waste management strategy. It also says that there's no need to bring the bins in until 2027, which will give Taupō District Council 3 more years to introduce the bins if you're going to introduce them in a staggered way, so that you can introduce one bin 1 year and the ratepayers will have a cost spread out rather than suddenly being whacked with, it's going to cost $3 million, I understand, just to put the bins in place. If you can spread that over a time, that may be more palatable to people. And the food scrap bins don't have to be brought in until 2030. Why are we rushing to bring them in this year? You know, as a council, you have a responsibility to make life easy for ratepayers, and at the moment, the rates are astronomical. And do you realise that a food scrap bin is 25 litres? That's 12.5 ice cream containers of food scrap that you think people are going to put out every week. Now, my groceries don't even measure 25 litres sometimes in a week. So why are we expecting people to be throwing out 25 litres? I mean, you could get far smaller waste bins, so there'd be less cost, less plastic, which we're all environmentally aware of, than a 25 litre food bin. I lived in London, and I think from memory there, they were 4 or 5 litres for a week, not 25 litres. And you know, as a council, all these things need to be looked at. The questions need to be asked: why are we indulging and buying huge, great big scrap bins? And then it says that in your 10-year plan, it says that the cost of the scheme, after you've introduced all the bins, is going to be $4.1 million per year. That's phenomenal. $4.1 million a year to have these bins, you know, and that's all going to come back on the ratepayer. The cost of staying with the bags is being touted as $340 a year. Now, this assumes that everyone will put out 1 rubbish bag a week at a cost of $3 a bag. This is still $20 less than going to bins, which is $366 according to your plan. No one in my area puts out a bag every week. And since I put in my submission, we have continued to monitor the bag usage in the Māori Kurito area. The lowest number has been 48 and the highest 177. I'll just repeat that. The lowest number of bags that have been picked up in all of the Māori Kurito is 48 and the highest is 177. The increase in rates is $233, which is the equivalent of $4.28 per week, to fix a system that is not broken. And $4.28 per week to a pensioner, and many of the people out in our area are pensioners on just the pension, that's a lot of money to expect them to pay extra every week. The $223 that is mentioned does not take into account the bag stickers that are bought at $3 and are going up to $3 each.
So Laura, you're just about time.
Yeah, I'm just about finished. And it's already stated, most residents do not use a sticker every week. And one other thing, can I just ask, why does the council let dairies and supermarkets sell the stickers? Because they put a markup on it when you could buy them from iSight for just the $3. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any questions from councillor? Thank you. We've read the submission. Message received. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're going online.
Yes, so you should have, stand for us on behalf of the country, Turangi-Tongariro online.
Thanks. Can you hear us? Yes,
I can. Kia ora koutou.
sir. You're on screen, and we're just going to move you to a full screen so we can all see you. We can hear you quite clearly, so thank you.
Are you happy for me to start? Oh, okay.
Just please.
Okay.
All good. There we go. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Oh, kia ora koutou. He mihi atu ki a koutou mō tēnei rā. Ko pihanga te maunga ko Tongariro te awa, ko Taupō te moana, ko Ngāti Turangi tukua te hapu, ko te whare toa te iwi, ko te heu te tangata, tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning to you all, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share just a few words this morning. I just wanted to open, I guess, with a note of appreciation. I feel like you guys have to sit there for days, and sometimes you may not be seen in all of the things that you do. And so I'm actually about to speak at a large governance conference soon about the importance of governance. So I just wanted to acknowledge all your hard work and what you do for our community. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the Turangi Tukua Hapu, focusing really on some key outcomes that we've tried to identify in our submission process. Firstly, the process around engagement was really strong this year, and I appreciate the opportunity where the council staff came to our marae, where we've had the opportunity to engage directly with staff. I think as a whole, long-term planning has evolved, and really appreciate the multiple opportunities we've had in our community to share our views. I wanted to talk particularly about just a few key things in our submission. The first is around continuing to encourage the investment of Taupō District Council into understanding and learning Te Tiriti o Waitangi across our community. What we've seen from the central government is a really concerted effort to try and erode some of the relationships that councils and tangata whenua have built over the last decades, including the recent changes in the Māori wards. And so we want to keep encouraging the council to support Waitangi Day and its celebrations, to support continued training and engagement by staff in our community around understanding what Te Tiriti is. We feel that's a really, really important contribution of our collective views on Te Tiriti to create a more evolved and mature community. Secondly, I just wanted to encourage the Taupō District Council in their support of the Mana Whakahono Arohe agreement that Ngāti Turangi Tukua has signed with the council. I think overall, we've really benefited from the closer approach around how we can co-manage and co-govern and share decision-making across our community in Turangi. And I think it's still a continued excellent example across the country with governance. And I'm sure it will only continue to evolve. And so we wanted to support the ongoing commitment to the resourcing of that relationship through the long-term plan. I'll just move quickly to the infrastructure outcomes. And I guess, as you all know, Ngāti Turangi Tukua have a significant, stake in the infrastructure investment in Turangi that goes beyond what a normal, tangata whenua
Taupō District Council partnership looks at, specifically because the Turangi-Tongariro Charitable Trust owns the land on which the drinking water take is sourced for the Turangi Township, the stormwater discharge points into Hirangi Stream, and the lands in which a lot of the infrastructure sits are owned by individual families of Turangi-Tongariro who are going through ancillary claims at at the Hirangi Stream. And thirdly, around wastewater, our continued conversations around the relocation of the Turangi wastewater treatment plant and ensuring that we have a long-term commitment to taking away all discharges of human waste into Lake Taupō, which I recognise that in previous years the council has resolved to also support. Now, I guess want to reflect on the changes in the central government around local border done well, now it's called. They're changing a name every time they get in. Just to, I guess, acknowledge the costs for some of those changes and how we phase that over several decades probably, and also a shared approach towards central government to find central government funding to resource really crucial upgrades in infrastructure in our community, because we know we don't have a large rate base, and so we have to find that cash somewhere. Also encouraging some of the broader economic development opportunities we've identified in the long-term plan around Ngāti Turangi-Tongariro partnering with the council around kind of that more commercial, private sector, public sector collaboration around infrastructure investment that could go further in cementing our relationship as economic outcomes for our community. I just wanted to really end I think on te mana o te wai and making sure that that was an important part of how we manage wastewater, drinking water and stormwater as we go forward. So one of the things we did note in the infrastructure strategy is that it wasn't very well cooked around what te mana o te wai was, how, excuse me, how it would be implemented across the new water services plans that are required by the government, and I guess encouraging the council to partner again with iwi and hapu around how we can participate in the water service plans. And in particular, Ngāti Turangi-Tongariro has a water services te mana o te wai statement, which we very strongly encourage the team in the council to look at. I just think too, probably around that broader relationship between us as a hapu and the council in terms of economic development, and certainly, you know, I have other hats in Ngāti Tūwharetoa as well, but just really encouraging the council's broader approach to economic development for the region, you know, being led by some of the economic opportunities that are being driven by Ngāti Tūwharetoa as a whole. Those things are still very, I think, less evolved in the narrative in the plan around where the future in our long-term strategy needs to sit, and probably more investment in how the council becomes more attuned with the economic focus that Tūwharetoa has for the district, being the largest owner of land in the area, and also pretty much the largest collective ratepayer in the Taupō District. But I will leave it there because I know you've got lots of people. I wanted to keep this succinct and just to summarise some of the key points that Ngāti Turangi-Tongariro had made in our long-term submission. But just again to reiterate the encouragement of our partnership as the council and Turangi-Tongariro going forward, and the opportunities that we can see together, and to recognise the work that the council is trying to do in very difficult fiscal environment with a lot of change in central government coming through. And we continue, I guess, to be at the moment very grateful around the submissions that the Taupō District Council has made to national government focuses over the last 8 months. We have been encouraged by that perspective. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take any, but I just wanted to review those key points.
Thanks, Jen. I was about to call time, but you called it for me, so appreciate that. Are there any questions on the table? And you've touched on the local water's done well, and I can assure you that has
a ongoing conversation. Not an easy one and not a quick fix either. So we look forward to ongoing engagement. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I think that it's the last one.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I'll be on behalf of myself. I live in Curacao, a permanent resident in Curacao for the last 8 years and a ratepayer for 29 years. A lot of this has been, what I'm going to say has already been covered by Nari, but I've got to point out that in the Taupō District Council long-term plan 21 to 31, they say that 90% of the ratepayers in the properties hold their homes. And I believe there's between 1,000 and 1,100 rateable properties in the Maori Curacao area. The permanent residents is approximately 200 to 250. So, you know, under the government waste strategy guidelines, communities were obviously well under the criteria. Since we started, I think September, when the waste management program was mooted, I sort of wasn't very happy about it. So I started doing every Monday morning, I drive around the district, counting up the number of properties who had waste bags outside. They've already mentioned what it was. So 10th birthday weekend was the biggest of 137, and late weekend 172. So then I stopped then because over the Christmas period was obviously, most people know there's a big population increase in the 3 to 4 weeks in December, January. And so then again, in July, I started again, because when June, when the council started to go around their district road shows, saying about it, pushing it, I went back again, and Matariki weekend was 134 bags. And in July, between July the 7th and 29th, which including school holidays, the range was 48 bags to 101. To give you an example of how low the properties are, the street that I live in, it's 58 houses. Of those, 7 are permanent, and the rest are holiday homes. And over the last year, only 14 have put out, used the collection facilities. So I was sort of very concerned about the way that this thing has been pushed, been very misleading. At the meetings that they've had, it's been pushed as advertised as bags and bins, but only bins as being discussed. I've asked them, why is this? Oh, well, we've got to make it universal over the whole district. And said, well, you know, this is a bit crazy. And I said to them, okay, why can't you do it like they have up in Western Bay of Plenty, is one area I know of. They have plastic tags to put on the bin, and you buy them, and in other words, you're paying to get emptied. Oh no, can't use that. Why not? Well, we need the money. This is basically what he said. So when you look on the situation here of 1,000 properties, 100 roughly are permits. And so, and you allow another 300, let's say, so 700 properties never ever use those facilities. You're only collecting something over $300 a year for that. So in other words, you're getting in excess of 250,000 a year for nothing. So, as a story, the other thing which has concerned me since the 1st of July, you've the council rate collectors have been getting rubbish collectors, I should say, have been going particularly fussy on the collection. And past, everything goes in one bin and the bag. So then now this have to be separated out. No tops on. So it's got the stage now where if a holiday homemaker, holiday ones, is home for perhaps one night, perhaps 2 nights. He might have a bottle of wine, might have a couple of cans of beer, and not much else. So he puts chucks in one bag, in one bin. They turn around and say, oh, that's a glass bin. Take out the glass, leave a plastic milk bottle. So it's come to stage now, and so they've been leaving it. And another thing here, this is very misleading. In your paper here, that oversized bags. If you're a holiday maker and you're out, holiday thing, and you're out there 20 k's from town, you haven't got a rubbish bag. Oh, I've got a green bag. You've got 3 or 4 items to put in. So they put it in there, and unfortunately, they've already got a label on there, green waste. So the collection, the guy looks at it, oh, green waste, drive along, please. Might have a little wee bit in the bottom. No, bags oversized. So I've got stage now. I go around on Wednesday. I'll pick them up on myself, my ute. The ones that they refuse to collect, I take them up to the dump and get rid of them. Instead of leave them there, because some of these people only come once a month, 3 months time. They're going to be left on the side of the road.
Just that time.
Yes, so anyway, I think that's mainly the point I'm making. I'm very disappointed. I think the issue here is what we've got is more than adequate. And this is the last that we can consider as a special case here, that the bin system doesn't work.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the table? Thank you for your time and thank you for your submission.
Thank you.
It's all white, so like morning place.
Points. I'm presenting on behalf of Blackstone Waterways. We did a submission, it's that, and I'm happy to take questions. I just have a couple of points to make, if I may. The questionnaire that came with the submission seemed to be quite important in terms of council's response to submissions. So you had did you see the form? It was a questionnaire, and for me, I filled it in diligently twice. And I didn't submit anything else because of the website crash. So I was a bit disappointed to be kind of disenfranchised in that sense. So I had a written submission, which is that which I emailed the council, so accepted, which I guess you've seen.
If it helps, I've got your submission in front of me and it's
Yes.
3 times.
Yeah, I've got it on the website.
So we did get it and we have read it, so,
I emailed it to one of your staff members.
so
So she,
we well and truly received it, so.
I guess Lakes Waterways, well, certainly Lakes Waterways has been partnered to TDC for many years, probably 20, particularly in relation to Lake Taupo protection. Pondering our submission, which largely is focused on, I guess you'd say, 3 waters, plus also community funding. I would commend the council to somewhere in the long-term plan, if still possible, to put the legislative framework of a lot of work that the council is doing. That's the Lake Taupo Protection Project. And that wasn't in there. So when people see the cost of drinking water, wastewater, etc., they go, oh my God, that's outrageous. They've got to realise there's a legislative background to that. That's the Lake Taupo Protection Project. So I deliberately in this submission put that graph there, which is from TDC. Our group takes a look at TDC's nitrogen discharge from wastewater treatment plants over the year in relation to the cap, because there was a cap. That's the horizontal line from here. Now, you can see from this graph that Turangi is the biggest contributor to wastewater discharge. And our group has been pretty interested in wastewater, having done some research with TDC decades ago in relation to improving the performance of that plant. I thought I'd come to Turangi today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with us, because Turangi is the biggest problem. I'd suggest that you probably need to look at the options for that in terms of the current plant performance. It's quite variable and it's quite high. Costs, of course, an issue. $18.5 million seems quite a bit, and I quite wonder if the expense of improving the wetland receiving environment for the Turangi wastewater treatment plant is justified on environmental and economic grounds. I'll leave it at that. We'd be happy to engage with the council if they wish in terms of this issue. Secondly, for the community fund, I'm encouraged that you monitor the costs of management of that. Typical funds, national funds of a kind of community type, they monitor their costs very closely, and I encourage you to do that. I'll leave it at that. I've actually got a couple of sentences I'd like to add to our submission. Is there any mechanism to do that?
Now's the time to do that.
Okay. Okay. So,
We're typing, but
Yeah.
when I say we, Karen.
Karen. So this is under section 4. The LTP, this is a quote, if you like. The LTP should reference the Lake Taupo Protection Project as the legislative framework for limiting nitrogen discharge to Lake Taupo. Remind you, the reason for that is that people can understand all the efforts that TDC is putting in, and that's why. And secondly, in relation to section 6, it's recommended that management costs for the funding, management costs for community funding are monitored and kept within reasonable limits. Is that okay? Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Questions, Councillor Parr?
Dr. White, thank you. Nice to see you. It's been a while. And thank you for all the work that you do with LWAG. It's really appreciated. Just in regards to the community funding, I mean, the efficiencies around the way we're looking at it are exactly that. That money goes to people, not administrators.
Yes.
But also with the Lake Taupo protection, the nitrogen cap in Turangi, and you talk about the wastewater plant and the wetlands. Can you just clarify for me that, do you think the restoration of the wetlands is enough?
No.
You don't think it's enough? So what would your solution be?
Land treatment has to be in the frame. So TDC maintains an excellent scheme under your road, and there's revenues associated with that. It's soft grass. and it's hundreds of thousands a year. So it's not like it's all lost cost. They're additional. So for the Lake Taupō Protection Project, TDC was in partnership with Tūrangi, and I can't see what the sticking points are, although I might second guess them, in terms of plant and improving its performance. Pumping treated wastewater to another site, discharging it exactly like the road would be appropriate. You don't necessarily have to shift the plant. The plant was modernised 20 years ago. I do believe with reasonable capital, probably a reasonable performance out of there. And then the extra, like the road, the extra discharge to irrigation to land, selling a pay would be a net of economic benefit to community and the council.
Thank you.
Yeah, perhaps you can educate me a little bit on my limited knowledge of the nitrogen cap.
Yes.
But so I've been told by a reliable source that the consented limit of nitrogen coming out of the Turangi wastewater plant is roughly equivalent to a small medium dairy site, a dairy farm, and that in the bigger context, it's the rural sector, which is how does that fit into this nitrogen cap thing here? Because that blue line on your graph, that's discharged from the Turangi plant, is that right?
Yeah, the histogram plots,
yes,
different colours. That's a bit small, the text, I'm sorry, but the different colours of different wastewater treatment plants.
Yeah, so blue is Turangi, so that's just the wastewater plant.
That's right.
So I'm just intrigued. How does the rural discharge of nitrogen in the fit into this cap?
So some science was done 25 years ago, trying to figure out the total nitrogen discharged to the lake from the catchment, including agriculture, including TDC and a few other bits and pieces. So then they decided some of that is what they call manageable nitrogen. Say it's 1,000 tonnes a year, right? It is equivalent to 100 tonnes a year, I think so. Some of that is manageable, so controls can have some impact on that, rather than rainfall. Nitrogen comes with rainfall. That's not controllable, so you can't manage that. So for the rural communities, they had the Lake Taupō Protection Trust. They aimed to do deals to reduce the nitrogen discharge from the rural environment as a whole, all the rural environment, by 20%.
Yes,
yep. TDC, they worked out as part of that how much nitrogen TDC we put into the lake through TDC, wastewater treatment plants. The aim was to reduce that by 20% as well. And that's that dotted line.
Oh, I see, yeah. This is the set limit for the TDC manageable portion of
that's right. Yeah.
So in the bigger picture,
yep.
That line that you encompass rural would be
way high.
Up here somewhere on
say 1,000 tonnes. The government also gave money for the Lake Taupō Protection Trust to buy land and do deals to do that 20% reduction.
Okay.
So all in all, it's $180 million across the rural sector, which has been the major costs, and TDC. And it's a very, very worthwhile project, and it's long term. We need to keep
Much to read it, we can look through. Just a quick question. Maybe that should be asking the staff. What do you think the main driver is why things were so above the average for Turangi in 2023? Do you think the drivers were?
I'm not sure, but if you look earlier to the first part of it, actually Turangi was way low. So the Turangi plant was performing really badly 20 years ago. Does it go back 20 years? Yeah. And they spent a few $1 million improving the plant processing, and that's dropped it by about half. One reason why that dotted line is so high is that before they put the limit in, the Turangi plant was performing really badly. So you actually got a bit of a bonus by improving the performance of the plant to get it to a limit that would be higher than another eventuality. So I mean,
I'm conscious of time.
Yep.
Thank you. What that was, but your time.
You can go up into the Amy Walker.
Good evening. Welcome.
Ia te mau ngā tongariro te awa, hira ne te marae, Turangi tukoa, te hapui, te whare tō te iwe, tine te tata. Nā me kata. Roa, ni nei whenua, mai puka, papa waiu, te whenua, kuki tani. Kami ni mai asa, kia haka nā, rana te tūhua, o te mai. Moni mai. Nā mihi kia nā. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my, I think it's the short submission, because I only want to focus on a very small part of it, and just to acknowledge Tina Pro, who spoke on behalf of Ngāti Turangi Tukoa, the Trust, the Hapū. So I won't talk about things that she's already touched on, but also I think we have Te Tākina New speaking this afternoon on behalf of the co-governance, which is a committee that I'm also part of, and to put my interest, I guess, as the Turangi Tukoa Māori Committee Chair for the years. So, awesome work that the council has been doing over the last many years. I just want to acknowledge you very much, councillors, Councillor John, I've met on a few occasions, Kevin, Laura. Oh.
This is Karen.
Oh, yeah, they're quite, yeah. Right. So, I'm speaking here purely as a resident of Turangi, and in particular, a resident of Hirangi Road, which is this road you may have driven down to get here today. And the reason why I speak about Hirangi Road is because, well, I live there, but also have a long history. My father even lived on this whenua that runs alongside Hirangi Road for my rāngo, forever. You know? Not just 10 years, not 20, not 50, not 60, much longer time than that. So when I look around the township and I see a lot of work that's being done in town on footpaths, on roadways, rubbish, whatever it might be, I think about Hirangi Road and what hasn't been done in the last 60 years since this township was established. Simple things like a footpath that runs the length of Hirangi Road. We don't have that, unfortunately. It stops pretty much at this road end here, and then nothing. So our tamariki who live down the road, by the way, this wasn't part of the village team, this is something I wanted to add in, had a pathway that stretches the length of Hirangi Road, which wasn't picked up in part of the recent works that were done around the township. That stretches to the end of the road, Hirangi Road. Actually, I have a plan that it goes down to Hirangi Road and it comes all the way up the main road that joins it and connects up to Puatata Road. So it's like a loop. And the reason for that is we have a lot of tamariki who have walked that road, I say road, or the goat track for many years. I consider that to be an unsafe practice for all our children, or anyone else that likes to get out and do a bit of exercise, which was me some years ago, not so much now. And so recreation walking is a health benefit to all our whānau as well. But more importantly, our kids need to be able to get to school safely, need to get to care safely when they play sports, and need to get to their friends and whānau places safely as well. So I'd love to see a footpath put in all the way down Hirangi Road, similar to the ones that they do over in Taupō and the new subdivisions that you could actually drive a truck down, not just walk down. So, well, I don't think it's a big ask. We could do that for Hirangi Road. But also with that, you'd need lighting, because a lot of people like to exercise. During the day, it's not always possible. So if we had lighting that went partway down, at least, then we could exercise and run early in the mornings or in the evenings. Safely. Same up the main drag, which is Tūrangi Road, so State Highway 41, I think it is now. Add lighting to that. The other problem we have on Turangi Road, because this is all about Turangi Road, is the speed of traffic coming up Turangi Road. Whether it's from the top end, I actually sat at the top end, at the end there, or I'm not sure if there is a top or bottom, but that end, town end, and the other end is down towards Tūrangi. There's traffic comes speeding up that road all times of the day and night, and I'm worried someone's going to get hit. And I wonder, are we going to wait for someone to get hit before something changes? Now, I'm not sure if this is you or if this is Transit New Zealand, but I'm putting it here to you today. Shuttle bars, at one end, both ends, I'm not sure, but that should slow things down, because you don't have to sit here and hear the traffic going all the way up and down past my house, which is just up here. So I'd really appreciate it if the council could consider improving safety for Turangi Road residents, for our tamariki, our mapupuna, our puia, our karawa, and people, all of us. That was the main crux of my submission, because I think everyone else has pretty much touched on some of those other areas. Oh, no, I've got here. Waste transfer station. Oh, it's a fun of it's breakfast up at that waste transfer station. You go in, drive in over the way bridge and drive out the same way. I mean, come on. And you've got a lot of people up there and you've got to wait for one to come off, then the next one. It's a bit of a, So if you could fix that up some way, Tony, and take the little one. Look, I'm all for recycling. I think it's wonderful. I'm an avid adopter of recycling, whether it's clothing, whether it's tin, cans, glass, food, everything. So I support recycling. I support, I'm not sure if I support the cost, but I did hear someone mention about the bins being 25 litres. Totally agree. I don't think they need to be anything ill. What's in there? So that's the recycling bit. That's, I've got any more time?
Just about that time,
Right.
you're going to close the comments.
Yeah, I think I've said everything I really wanted to do. Other than one other point, which I didn't put in my submission, which I quickly put in, so it now is that we have again, of Turangi Road, we have the main sewer line for the whole of the township runs from that whenua across there. That whenua is farming whenua. And it's time that that was removed and put alongside the roadway. So that if we chose to, or choose to do some work on our whenua, we're not hindered by that waste, sewage line, the township that runs through that pipeline, through that piece of whenua across the road. I didn't put that in the submission, but I'd like to make that as part of content here. So, nō reira, ia te kia tātou, nō koutou taringa, mai, ngā muri, he pāpai. Questions?
That's a great slide. With
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff in there. I know that recently the Turangi Road road's was reduced. I'm asking you, it's not made any difference. It's just been ignored, is it?
What?
The speed down Turangi Road. They've not made any difference. So we need to elevate that to somebody who's actually going to want to understand that. I do try to go slowly down there. It's such a lovely piece of road. And I get what people, do speed, but totally hear what they're saying. It's children. Yeah.
Kirsty, Duncan, John.
Danny.
Danny.
Ladies,
Just wondering how many do you looking to
I would say at a guess, rough piece, just in the families down there, probably about 10, 12, maybe.
Oh, and well, just regarding speed humps or speeding, generally my understanding, the more people complain, the more people raise it as an issue, the more likely something can happen. So I don't know if people, if that's happened much in the past, or if they're going to just keep quiet about it. People are speeding, there's children crossing the road. Yes. That's a question to you, I suppose. And reference to the more people who raise it as an issue, it elevates it. That's, yeah.
Okay.
Quick question, a little bit unfair too. If we do put in jail bars, will we make up also negative responses from some of the residents here? Because they say, I'm only going 5 feet, I've got to have a jail bar to my house. What's your thoughts on that? You know, you don't have to answer if it's.
Well, I guess it's a bit of a weigh it up, eh? What's more important, the safety of the residents or the winters of those who expect 12 minutes in the car? That's my response.
Don't really have any questions to acknowledge, just to acknowledge the healthy relation, positive relationship with the relation to noise, but just to acknowledge that. I'm happy with this.
Thank you. It's a big one for us. I've heard the gentleman before me talking about land-based discharge. It's the only way to go. Straight into the water is not our submission.
And thank you.
Thank you.
One more submitter before we'll take a short break, and then the next group online. Dave, come forward.
Kia ora koutou, ko te pōtaka tōku ingoa, he uri au no mananui a ua kāpana. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge you, Deputy Mayor, and your councillors, and your marvellous work with back here that you've run, obviously. I think you've probably got my submission and what it's all about. I thought it would be good to just give it some clarity around where the actual whenua that we're talking about is. So I've used some crayon technology to if you have a look at this map, so obviously a photo of the Pukawa Papakainga, and between the lake at the bottom of the photo and the Papakainga is the green line, which indicates where the reserve land that we're talking about is. You'll see the line actually goes from my left, from the Urupā to the boat ramp at Pukawa. As you can also see, it cuts across one of the houses that was owned by one of our kuia. And that has caused us a bit of angst as far as her whānau being able to make improvements to their home. Obviously, they can't do it on reserved land. And I think there was a wish or a hope by the council that put this line in place that house would fall down. Not be. It's still there. As you can see, the land is only a small piece of land. It fronts onto the Papakainga and goes down to the lake. I don't know what the reasons were for taking that away. I guess there were some legal reasons why that was done, but that's back in the day. The concerns we have, and the reason we want that land returned to us, is a lot of it's got to do with the Urupā down the end. The actual beach along there doesn't lead anywhere, so around the corner is a drop off. So there's no way you can walk any further than the Urupā. we as a people, I guess, I mentioned Mananui Arua Kapanga. Now, he was a paramount chief, and the reason I mention him now is that during his time, many years ago, he was the kaitiaki or paramount chief for Tūkari, and the land that he controlled and was from Mokai to the Taupō Manga. So that's kind of the mindset of our whānau, that we used to own this land, and now we've been, some will say, pushed into a small part of it for the Taupo-Kaingaroa, and we don't even own all of that. So that's kind of the reason we sometimes have conflict over this little piece of land, with some of the holiday makers walking in front of the houses, sometimes coming down through the Taupo-Kaingaroa. And we kind of sometimes confront them nicely as possible, but sometimes that obviously can become a little bit emotive. So that's basically the reasons why we want this whenua given back to us. We think we can manage it, probably a little, well, manage it as well as the council. Problem we have, one of the problems we're having at the moment is erosion. That boat ramp there blocks any sand being fed onto those beaches, onto the beach in front of the reserve. If you have a look at the picture, the big tree kind of to the left of the boat ramp is now not there. So that's disappeared. When Gabriel hit us, that whenua almost got cut in half from the boat ramp to the second house along the beach. The council, thankfully, has put some of that sand back and has planted some shrubs on there to try and hold the land. We think the processes around mitigating that erosion are problematic for the council, because they have to go through a process of trying this, of trying that, of trying this, and actually showing that they've tried all these things, and now we have to spend a whole lot of money on it. We think as a hapu, we can actually get the funding to mitigate that erosion in front of Taupo-Kaingaroa, and that's what we want to do. So hence the application to have this piece of whenua returned to us. Anyway, most of the points are on my submission, so if you've got any questions, fire away.
Excellent. We have a submission and we've got open funding at the moment. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for that. Certainly like to acknowledge your work in the area. We got a little thing put right, right back at the very beginning, which was great. I've been out and had a look when I saw your submission. I was already aware of it, but I didn't actually know that was reserved land. Now I realise what the whole situation is. Do you know the process of getting reserved land given back to you?
No, but I'm always the person that thinks we want to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's something that perhaps is going to be the first thing that we need to do, and work with the actual process and find that out. And as far as the erosion is concerned, the council is doing erosion repair there at present. Is it looking better?
They have done, but we know that in the future we are going to get more Gabriels.
Yeah.
The control of the levels of the lake are really problematic as far as certain times of the year they're very high. We don't think the sand that's been put in there, like this is the third dumping of sand that's put in there. And the first one I had anything to do with was about 4 years ago, with 18 months to get rid of. So even though we planted some trees, I don't envisage that this sand's going to last long.
So,
it's certainly not a long term.
If that's returned, who would it be returned to? So
we have a trust, Taupo-Kaingaroa Trust, which looks after the Taupo-Kaingaroa, pays the rates, manages everything, so we would put it to their hands and they would be responsible for it.
Okay, so thanks very much, David.
There's just a couple of questions. I mean, I don't know the process for handing over reserves, but I imagine it would include public notification. And I mean, most councils would happily give away assets that are costing them money to maintain. But it just happens to be that the public, the troublesome part of it is that I imagine someone wouldn't be happy with it. But no, everyone's happy with it, then do you expect there would be a lot of people unhappy?
Last time this issue came up, when the council was willing to do this, they kind of had a referendum where ratepayers were able to vote. Unfortunately, I kind of just retired and had come back into the area and wasn't aware of what was going on. But that vote went against us as far as returning that reserve. So there is some opposition out there for sure. But I'm sure if we went through that process again, maybe a different result.
Oh, and my other question is, where do you think you get the funding from?
I don't think that's
Is that a,
I'm not sure that's an appropriate question for. If you want to donate, but it's up to you.
We know where we can get funding, and rest assured that we would be able to get that funding.
Danny, just a quick one.
Yeah.
Hopefully not inappropriate either. So your expectation, if you did get this was, Taupo-Kaingaroa Trust looked after this reserve, the house would still remain that's there. You're not assuming you're not looking at any more extension.
No.
And the other one, just for me, because I don't know the area that I've been there, just in terms of the Urupa, so you would expect that Urupa to continue to grow, or so I'm just mindful how close it is to the first out. So
yeah,
just interesting.
I guess that part of the Urupa, it actually goes up the hill. So if there's any extension, it's go up as opposed to come.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to suggest we take a 5 to 10 minute break now and then come back up a little bit online. I think there are a number of online. Yep. So those that are online, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with you. And then those who are here in person, we will prioritize for. Thank you.
So my apologies for keeping everyone waiting. We're going to reconvene and we're going to go online. We have 4 submitters waiting in the ether. So none of them. So first up, James Benton, are you there? Can you hear us all right? You appear to be on mute.
Very clear, absolutely perfect.
All right, if you want to choose the camera on, we have to just see you as well. Well, it's entirely up to you.
That's
You can probably hear me, but I don't seem to be able to turn the camera on. Have I done?
Right. No, we can hear you loud and clear, Jane. The floor is yours, 5 minutes. And it's up to you.
Okay, I've added a little bit to my original submission and I'm happy to email it through. So thank you for the opportunity and also for your time and hearing community submissions. I actually would like to say that I'm fortunate that my submission was in a Word document format, as many of my fellow submitters lost content in the online process, quite substantive content that they spent time on and were apparently not, weren't able to replicate. You may have heard about that issue. So that's a shame. Anyway, I've been involved with Taupo Lakes and Waterways for many years and the Taupo Community Gardens and have been a part of the local arts and musical activities here. But lately my biggest hat is the climate action mahi that I feel is really the greatest threat to life, to all life on this planet. So I'm a bit skewed in this submission in that direction. I might focus on those points. So as with past submissions, I seek reference to climate change, climate mitigation, and sustainable development through the long-term plan. It really wasn't mentioned, and it should have clear objectives to greenhouse gas emission reduction, and how these should be achieved. So I know you have in-house planning, but there's really nothing to inspire the community in this direction. So I'm really concerned about that. I think there should be a clear mandate for targets and objectives in the long-term plan. It should be referred to the climate change strategy, how it's going to be adopted, how the budgets are being matched to that. Doing too little does not consider the effects on future generations, because they will be paying for the mitigation and adaptation in the future. So a climate impact lens should be applied to every council plan and decision. And I'm not alone in thinking this. I know you'll hear from the Climate Action Group, who did a separate submission to me. And they found some research that said that when people hear their family and friends, the community talking about global warming, it can create a more normative kind of discussion around the issue. People are more inspired to take action. It motivates people. This is research coming out of the United States, and I've put in this submission, which I can email you, I've put a link to that, but I think the climate group will do that as well. So my original submission says, when discussing waste reduction, for instance, carbon reduction benefits should be outlined, and also economic development, including greenfield development, should be climate friendly. And I've had another look at your climate strategy, and it's pretty clear on a lot of these things relating to being a climate responsible organisation, including emission impacts into decision making, consideration of these, and a whole list of other things around building efficiency and infrastructure, which is more in-house, and then working towards our emission reduction targets, as I said before, responsible and efficient use of money. And also it says quite clearly, emission reduction will be a focus for Council's next work plan, long-term plan 2024. So pretty strange that there's not really any reference to it in the consultation document. We know that global warming is caused by death by 1,000 cuts, and we know that mitigation measures such as curbside food scrap collection can demonstrate a commitment to taking a step towards restoring the atmosphere. What would it take for this district to take a leadership role in galvanising community action? That's what I'm asking. So pathways to targets for less car use, supported by infrastructure, obviously. We shouldn't be dependent on government departments for this. Community funding for tree planting that we've taken a lot of pride in this district. Educational food gardens, further support for that. Subsidised water tanks, I've submitted on that many times. Education on waste reduction. This should be in the long-term plan, I feel. Nelson City, for instance, has an eco-design advisor who will help reduce, this is their words, energy usage and improve house performance, which supports reduction in energy consumption. And there's a budget for that in their climate action plan and in their long-term plan. Wastewater, I'll talk about in a little while, but if I have time, but I just wanted to go straight to that curbside collection. I know you've heard a lot of submissions on this. Yeah, just to, as with the climate strategy concerns, why push out an opportunity to reduce community generated greenhouse gas by not having the food scraps collected? There's other ways to support the community in dealing with their food scraps, but that I think should be a priority. It leads the way, and I don't understand really why it's
Okay, we're just on your 5 minutes. Have you got any closing comments you wish to leave with us, and then we'll open up for questions?
No, I think really, I just think those are the main points for me. But I can send my oral submission to you if you want.
If you're going to do that, very shortly would be good because we're into deliberations tomorrow, so hang up from this
Okay.
call.
So do I just
and-
reply to the Zoom link person, that admin person?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So any questions around the table? Thanks very much. Appreciate your time.
Can I just say that I'm just curious as to why the food waste is scrapped, or the disadvantage of it not being utilised when it's used in other areas. That's my question. And if we've got weekly rubbish collection being recommended by officers, then the food scraps could be included. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. And that will be part of our deliberation starting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So now let's go down the list here.
Yeah,
So-
Simon Smith.
So Simon Smith, are you online? You can hear us?
Yes, I am, and yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to submit. Just starting my 5-minute timer here.
Yep, so I can hear you loud and clear. 5 minutes, over to you.
So the main thing I want to draw your attention to is the issue with cats. And in New Zealand's goal to be predator-free by 2050, I think there's things that Taupō District Council and the community can be doing to deal with the problem of cats. So domestic cats wandering and causing issues between neighbours, feral cats, and both domestic and feral cats killing native wildlife and spreading toxoplasmosis, a disease that affects people with immune insufficiency or pregnant women, cancer patients, for example. And from the animal welfare point of view, for domestic cats, cats lost, injured, and killed. So the action I'm requesting that council take is, one, lobby national government through local government New Zealand for a national policy on cats and a law change to make the legal situation for cats the same as dogs. For example, at the moment, if a cat wanders onto my section and something happens to that cat, then I would be legally liable for that. If my dog goes wandering, it's not the same situation. So that's one thing, lobbying central government, and locally introducing a bylaw at a minimum requesting people to, or requiring people to chip and desex their cats unless they're a registered breeder. And we could start the ball rolling now, so that recommending that all new cats in the district, kittens or people moving to the district, are aware that cats are required to be indoor cats, and that in 10 years' time, the average lifespan of a cat, every cat would be used to be living indoors. And at that point, we can begin enforcement, and that enforcement could be relatively cheap. And these budget constrained times, I understand that's a concern. It certainly is for me as a ratepayer. And when my wife and I lived in Calgary back in the 1990s, the system they had there, all cats were supposed to be indoor cats. If you had a problem cat in your neighborhood, whether it was feral or domestic, you went and picked up a live trap from the equivalent of the SPCA. You caught the cat and you were responsible for its welfare while it was in your custody. You took it back to the SPCA and they tried to track down the owner if it had a collar or a chip. And if not, it went to a cat charity for rehoming, or if nobody wanted to take on the cat, it was euthanized. So very little cost to the local authorities. So that's what I have to say about cats. And just one point I'd also like to make. When you're viewing these submissions, can we please also remember who is not in the room? I'm aware that submissions to other local authorities typically skew towards older white guys who have time on their hands. Now, older white guys occasionally do have sensible things to say, like me, for example. But let's remember all the people who don't have time to take time out of their day to make submissions, but who do have a vested interest in making Taupo an even better place to live. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for that, Simon. Appreciate your submission, and yes, message received.
I can say, we've got a couple of questions here that we had submitted yesterday, because it was on the same issue. And we've been given a copy of the National Cat Management Strategy, a very comprehensive document. Councillor Greenside has a question for you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Actually, I didn't want to talk about cats. I want to talk about the last sentence in your submission, which talks about council approving more than one dwelling on a site. Am I right in thinking that properties have caveats on them to restrict to one building, house?
Yes, in the subdivision we live in, Oakdale, there are covenants on the section. So there would be issues with those covenants, which are between the purchasers or the residents here and the developer, but also what council allows.
So, I mean, council does currently allow 2 houses on a site. So I think it's the caveat that's the issue with your situation. I might be wrong, but I think that might be the situation that you're facing there.
Yeah. When we designed our house, we were told that, for example, we could not have a granny flat or a separate unit separated by the garage, for example. So there are definitely design constraints that council places. So we've got around that in our house. We have a sort of multifunction house that we operate as either a physiotherapy clinic or a Airbnb, depending on what day of the week it is. But if you remove that design constraint and could have a separate unit on the other side of a garage, that would make this policy more practical.
Yeah, thanks for that. No opinion on cats.
Welcome.
Councillor Campbell.
I know. We had a similar kind of submission yesterday, and I threw this same sort of question. Really, is that the end goal is cat confinement, as far as the only worthwhile end goal seems to be cat confinement to properties, and I'm just suggesting that that this council tried to introduce.
Now, stop. No. The question to the presenter, not a statement. We're here to listen. We will deliberate starting tomorrow, which is where that comment comes in.
So I'll ask you. How do you think the public would react if this council tried to introduce such a suggestion of cat confinement? Because I suspect.
Don't suspect. Ask the question. Stop.
Yeah. How do you think that would go?
There would be some members of the community, a minority, who would be against that, and for whatever reason, their cats are their little precious darlings and should be allowed to wander anywhere. And any suggestion that that's not appropriate is met with resistance. However, I think the majority of people, when you explain it to them, to say dogs aren't allowed to roam, why are cats allowed to roam? Dogs don't really carry disease in New Zealand. Yes, there have been issues with hydatidus in the past, but that's not a human issue. Cats do carry disease in New Zealand, and toxoplasmosis does cause deaths of unborn children and disease for adults around New Zealand at the moment. Not a high incidence, but it does definitely occur. Cats do cause a nuisance to their neighbours and can cause neighbourhood friction. To me, having a 10-year window in which you get a kitten today, you train it to be an indoor cat, you build a catio, you spend as much money as you like on your little fur baby, whether it's a cat, a dog, a rabbit, a hamster, but keep it inside your own property. That seems fair to me, and I think one of the core values of New Zealand is fairness. If you deal with it on that basis, I think the majority of the community would be on board.
Thanks, Simon. Any other questions about the tone? Appreciate your time. Thank you for your submission. They will be deliberating, hopefully starting tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Next we have Jeremy Mail from Creative Waikato. Jeremy, are you there?
Kia ora, yes, I am here.
In your car, you have 5 minutes. The time is yours. Thanks for appearing.
Yes, I'm in the midst of a creative workshop, so I had to jump out to the car, so thank you for having me on Zoom. Kia ora koutou, my name's Dr. Jeremy Mail. I'm the CEO at Creative Waikato. I'd like to start by acknowledging the council and staff for your work in going through the lengthy long-term plan process. I know that we've recently connected with some of the staff in kind of lead up to this, but I appreciate this chance to talk to you all in this context. I also want to support the Taupō vision for a district of connected communities who thrive and embrace opportunities. We can sense care for people and community within this approach. Acknowledge that while there are challenges ahead, this is also an exciting time for opportunities. This is a time to embrace the imagination of a long-term community vision and an opportunity to be creative and innovative and to reimagine our collective future through an acknowledgement of the nature of these thriving communities. As mentioned, this presentation is on behalf of Creative Waikato. We're a strategic regional arts organisation focused on creativity, well-being and people, and we work towards a Waikato region that thrives with diverse and transformative creative activity. We work with communities to build capability, and we work with enablers locally, regionally and nationally to benefit access and engagement to arts, culture and creativity for all people. I'll take the written submission as read and happy to answer questions as we get to the end of this document. In an increased time of need due to economic pressures, social pressures, climate pressures and more, we need to prioritise activities and investments that bring people together and acknowledge that the focus on infrastructure, but also to encourage the council to prioritise investing and enabling local organisations as the essential soft infrastructure of our communities. Arts, culture and creativity in Ngā Māori are significant contributors to community cohesion as well as growth. And I'd like to acknowledge all of the local Taupō-based creative community organisations who do important work in creating opportunities for people to connect with one another. We've met a few of them, but are also looking at how we can kind of use the work that we've been doing in the wider Waikato region to connect with these organisations as well in these spaces to find an opportunity to gain deeper knowledge about our culture, history, traditions and whakapapa through artistic activity. We see that the council's identified priorities for vibrant, connected communities working in partnership and acknowledging tangata whenua, and we commend this approach. We also acknowledge the commitment to cultural wellbeing and community vibrancy. These are important things. We know firsthand that accessible arts, culture and creative activity contribute to measurable shifts in community connection, and we've worked with a number of different artists throughout our region to see the difference that this can make. We also know that there's a real need to support positive mental health more widely in the region, and evidence shows that increased engagement in arts, culture and creativity has a positive impact on mental health. And we know that these things in connection with local communities can make a meaningful contribution, but this does mean continued financial support, community capability building, and more access to creative spaces in local communities. And so there's real potential for council to continue to prioritise these things in future planning. Whether we want to understand the value and impact of arts, culture and creativity through well-being, social cohesion, growth, economic outcomes, education, pride, innovation, civic engagement, mental health or physical health, there is a wealth of evidence both nationally and internationally. That means we no longer really need to have questions about the quality of this type of investment, but the focus should be on how we can embrace this innovative and evidence-based approach for shaping a future in this district that connects with the wider region in engaging and sustainable ways. We want to take a moment to speak to the potential strategic connection between Creative Waikato and Taupō District Council. We acknowledge that this is a potential new relationship, and our early discussions with council staff have led to this kind of this submission and this possibility of a strategic partnership. The potential strategic partnership can also find strong connections to the Waikato Arts Navigator as a regional collective impact strategy for arts, culture and creativity, but we also would love to present some work around our Waikato Creative Infrastructure Plan as strategic documents developed by our organisation to work better with councils and communities to achieve broader collective impact. I certainly know that our submitted documents are quite a lot to take in during a process like this with the number of submissions that you get. And we, of course, offer to reconnect with council and key staff to work through these things outside of this process if there's interest to better support the potential positive impacts for your local community. These documents in our capability building approach has been presented to all councils in the region, but also shared with community funders, community organisations and other regional enablers to seek alignment and find ways we can track in the same direction with our cross-regional efforts that will support, complement and strengthen one another. We look forward to the possibility of exploring what this partnership could be if it emerges and how to work more strategically to benefit local communities. And we see that this connection, along with other regional organisations like our sister organisations in Sport Waikato, and community Waikato can potentially amplify the strength of the heart of your community, which is the people. So thank you for your time, patience and consideration, and look forward to any questions you may have.
Good timing. We just rang the bell on you. So questions at the table. Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Extremely comprehensive submission, very interesting. You haven't worked with the Taupō Council before. Can you tell me what other councils in the Waikato region that you do work with?
So we have a relationship with 10 other councils. So that's we work most closely with Hamilton City Council, but also in a funded agreement with Matamata Piako District Council and Hauraki Council. We've worked quite closely with South Waikato as well. And then we have emerging relationships with Waikato District, Otorohanga District, Ruapehu District, Thames Coromandel, Waitomo. I think that's them, and then the wider Waikato Regional Council as well.
So are you envisaging that the funding you're looking for would be through our community funding process?
I am open to what that might look like. I know that there are strategic partnership agreements with organisations like Sport Waikato. We operate in a similar capacity to them, so it may depend on how your relationship with them is structured, as an example.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Park.
Thank you, Jeremy, for your submission today. Have you read the Taupō District Action Strategy?
In early discussions, not recently, so I couldn't quote anything to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Jeremy. I've actually got the vision statement open on my computer from your submission that Waikato thrives with diverse and transformative creative activities. So thank you for that. Submission received. Appreciate your time. Moving on, we have from Sport Waikato, Shane Brody and Matthew Kukla. Matt, you there?
All good, yes. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yep, we can hear you clearly. 5 minutes, the floor is yours.
Very good. Kia ora koutou. Good morning to you, Kevin, and to councillors and all staff. Firstly, thank you very much on behalf of Sport Waikato to verbally present to you our submission on your long-term plan. Alongside me is Shane Brody, our Spaces and Places Manager at Sport Waikato. And I certainly appreciate that lunch is close as well. So I'll make sure I stick to time. Just wanted to start off by thanking you for your long-standing support and the great relationship that we've developed over time with you all and alongside your excellent staff to provide positive and long-lasting outcomes for the community. Part of that relationship includes Sport Waikato's Regional Connectivity Coordinator, now firmly up and running in Veronica Marie. That helps council with strategic decision making across the areas of play, active recreation and sport in the Taupō District. Again, take our submission as read. We'd just like to comment on a couple of aspects of that in my time. Social return on investment of recreational physical activity in Aotearoa New Zealand report showed that for physical activity generates significant value for society across multiple wellbeing domains and outcomes. For every $1 spent, there is a social return of $2.12 to New Zealand. So what this means, council, is that the value of wellbeing outcomes for Taupō District and New Zealand is greater than the cost for providing those opportunities. So therefore, this should be considered as a positive light when considering funding into infrastructure, which is often seen as a deficit contribution, especially in these challenging financial times. We therefore would like to congratulate Council for the significant investment made where you all are today, your fantastic community hub that is the Te Matapuna Sport Facility, along with the $116 million outlined in the proposed long-term plan for sport and recreation facilities to deliver flexible places that cater for communities' changing needs as we took out of the long-term plan. In addition, Sport Waikato supports the investment outlined in the long-term plan for Owen Delaney Park. Owen Delaney Park is a sport and recreational park of regional and probably add national significance and an investment into that park will help progress the development of the much needed community infrastructure and the intended outcomes of the park's master plan that received input from sport and recreation organisations and your local community. Sport Waikato supports a strategic approach to indoor recreation spaces across the district, and this investment into these spaces is still included in your long-term plan only once detailed planning of preferred solutions and required investment is completed. This includes not only the provision into Taupō, but the exploration of preferred outcomes for Turangi. And we note the 17.5 million in years 4 and 5 of this plan once best outcomes for recreation and sport are determined for this community. Lastly, Council, Sport Waikato acknowledges and supports investment alongside the long-term plan for walking and cycling networks supporting active recreation opportunities. Sport Waikato's insights highlight the importance of natural environment and being outdoors to Taupō residents, with the top 3 locations for being activity being adjacent to natural water. Obviously beaches, but alongside the Great District of Taupō are rivers and also lakes, walkways, footpaths and parks and reserves. While walking and cycling are top activities participated amongst both young people and adults, which is not surprising coming from Taupō District. So once again, we thank you for the opportunity to make the submission as part of Council's long-term plan process. We look forward to the opportunity of continuing to work smart in partnership and work strategically with Taupō District Council into the future. Deputy Mayor Kevin, that's our submission, our verbal submission. Take you up for questions.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Questions around the table? Anna.
Yeah, kia ora, Matt, and congratulations on your recent appointment to the NZREFU. Just in regards to the regional coordinators, there is actually no monetary amount mentioned in your submission. What is it that you require to retain the strategic partnership with Taupō District?
Oh, Councillor Anna, the continuation would be $50,000 per annum.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, I echo Anna's congratulations. I've seen you in a couple of games recently on the field, so well done.
Thank you. I haven't got it. Mayor David hasn't asked for tickets yet, Kevin.
I'll hold him back from that. One more question for you, Rachel.
Yeah, hi Matt, it's
Rachel.
Rachel Shepherd here. Hey, I'm just wondering how you go getting some money out of Shane Jones for us. How'd that go?
Councillor, yes, that's the last one was at a reasonable hour in the Beehive on level 8. So that was positive then. But as you know, I probably need to continue that relationship. But I certainly think that regional economic. If I talk about social return, Councillor, around the for every dollar spent, $2.12 in terms of social return on investment. Certainly, I think there's a case where maybe we need to have that another conversation with Minister Jones.
We'd appreciate that very much.
I'm through the chair, maybe tickets for Martin Jones would be more helpful to me than David.
Starting to digress now.
Sorry,
But Matt, thank you. Appreciate your time, both of you.
Thank you.
Look forward to an ongoing relationship.
Thank you very much, Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Jade Kent online from Film Bay Plenty? Jade, come in.
Hi, yes, you do.
The floor is yours, 5 minutes. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, Jade Kent. I'm the manager of Film Bay of Plenty. In our backyard, we have a diverse range of locations and crew who want more experience in their own backyard. We are currently an emerging film destination, but we are progressing towards maturity at an impressive rate. So what exactly does a regional film office do? We're the ones behind the scenes working to ensure the productions filming here have everything they need to succeed, from securing permits to scouting, locations, education on filming processes, iwi introductions, sourcing local caterers, accommodation, coordinating logistics, to liaising with local talent and funding proposals, lots of funding proposals. We do it all. We're currently funded by 7 councils, or have been, and we're all in LTPs, obviously, and 2 community funders. And we apply to creative communities within each region to help support the workshops that we do. Now let's talk about the real game changer that I've put into the submission, the screen incentive. We would be the first region in the North Island to offer a screen incentive. It's not just about enticing screen media professionals with the financial perks to the backyard. It's also about showcasing the potential of our region and enticing productions to choose us as their backdrop. The Screen Canterbury incentive has created a 77% increase of filming in their region, and they've just had that renewed. Previously, Amplify and DGLT helped Taupo lead the way with an incentive test case last year, and we want to expand on this by bringing it to the wider Bay Area. The return on investment for Taupo incentive was an impressive 17% for an investment of $50,000, and this doesn't even take into account the future tourism opportunities that await. When we did the Taupo case, we had deliverables that are still outstanding, so that will come through once the film is released, which would be, they had John Lithgow and I've just forgotten the other actor's name, come in, and they're looking to come back. And when your cinema is back up and running, wherever that's going to be, we're going to do a red carpet event, that type of thing down there. The screen incentive is a separate item from our operational funding. Our operational funding for Taupo has come through Amplify previously. Operational funding allows us to continue as is. A screen incentive allows the region to be put on the global map for our production opportunities. The goal is to have all councils in the Bay adding to the incentive, making the overall package more enticing, meaning that if a production comes and they like something in the Mount Maunganui, but they also like something in Taupo, they could draw for a piece of each rather than it all being on one council in particular. So that means that not just the Taupo area can benefit, but the wider Bay, as we are Film Bay of Plenty. It's about collaboration, it's about the economic growth for the community, and it's about showcasing the best of what our region has to offer. We want to get our community busy creating, busy living in their own backyard, not sitting in an Auckland hotel, missing their family, busy promoting our region as a place where some of the best films or TV series are made, a place to visit for holiday because of these films, a place to visit because they worked here and wanted to bring their family back, a place to move to because of the ease of business and lifestyle. Talk about an attraction piece. We recently had 2 teams from Taupo who went down to the 48-hour grand final, and Great Lake Film Society came second runner-up, and they did very, very well. They're 3rd year in now, so that's great. I think I'll discuss, although the 35,000 that we've asked for is the, is the screen incentive. Impact seems like it's an insignificant amount. It can facilitate a larger production that's already committed to Taupo, enabling the inclusion of trainees or attachments at a minimum expense. For instance, we could allocate $10,000 for training over 6 weeks. That would benefit 2 to 3 trainees of people who don't have the opportunity to go to Auckland. They want to be able to film in the backyard. Second, it's also an opportunity to help local productions with smaller budgets be able to get their film made, which again is capacity building and having more opportunity locally. And I think that's about me. I've rushed through it because I got nervous.
No, you're fine. You're good timing. You're right there. Jeffrey Rush was the other actor you were thinking of from the Royal Jimmy Penn.
Yes, that's right. That was Jeffrey Rush. That's right. I couldn't think of his name at the time.
King's speech fame, I believe. Are there any questions from the panel? Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Jade, and thank you for your regular updates I get by email. I appreciate them. My question is that you have received a grant through Amplify, or EGLT as it was formerly known, which was in fact council or ratepayer money. Do you still go to Amplify for a grant?
So this year we talked to Rick, and unfortunately they've had I believe what he's told us is they've had a 20% reduction, so we won't be receiving any funding through them this year.
Yeah, so that is actually that's us. But so my question to you is, if we can't afford to amplify the money this year, how do we go about, or what is it you're asking for literally 200,000 over the next 3 years, but what is your baseline? What is it you need as opposed to would like?
Yeah, operational funding would be the need, which is 27,000 per annum.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Well, yes, I used to live in West Auckland, and I believe that there's a film production businesses set up there back in the, I think that might have been in Bob Harvey's day when he was mayor, but I didn't know too much about it then. But do you know if they, I think they're still there, there's still a big setup there. But did they get some financial support by councils or anything like that? I mean, or were they just totally, I don't know why they set up in West Auckland. Was it encouraged by the mayor or?
So each regional office, which there's 11 of us around New Zealand now, funded slightly differently. We sit outside of council, so we go to all the, whereas Screen Auckland, which sits in, which is where you're talking with West Auckland, they cover all of Auckland. They sit within council and so have a different budget makeup basically. But the locations that you're talking about, so the one that's out West Auckland, that I believe if you're talking about the land, that's privately owned, and they rent or hire out their land to productions coming in. I've been out to there. That's quite a common place for them to be able to go and set up for a large production, because they can build whatever they like on that land. They've done a lot of it now, so that the owners of the land are almost film crew themselves.
No, I suppose I was just wondering, do you know that the councils, what did the council have to do with them setting up or starting off, or?
I'm not 100% on that, but I don't believe it was through council that they set up. They were approached by the screen facilitator, I believe, in Auckland, who was they had a particular film that was looking for locations, and so they wanted a space, and then that they get paid a fee by the production.
Any other questions? Joe, thank you for your submission and for your time this afternoon, and it's now.
Just gone. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
I think we're back in the house.
So next up is Margaret on behalf of the Property Owners Association.
Thank you, Dana.
Kia ora.
Very good to see you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
That's all right.
It's your time.
You've read my submission, pages of it, and my breakdown of the rationale and the graphs of our survey. So I'll just highlight the main issue. In Pakawa, we're struggling to comprehend as to why the council would consider spending millions of dollars of ratepayer money to replace something that isn't broken. The current waste collection system works. It could be improved, but it's not broken. We wholeheartedly agree that everyone should recycle as much as possible to reduce the waste going to landfill, but we don't need wheelie bins to do that. Recycling, to quote Hastings District Council, using crates to separate items ensures we have the cleanest recycling possible. And the high quality of the material collected will guarantee that it's recycled. The quality of recycling that comes out of the mixed recycling wheelie bins is much lower. It also is more difficult to separate items afterwards, therefore costs more to process. So why would we take a backward step and put our already sorted recycling into one wheelie bin?
rubbish. Wheelie bins supposedly present hundreds of large plastic bags going to landfill. However, people will still put their rubbish in a plastic bag before putting it in the wheelie bin. Supposedly reduces the chances of injury to staff by sharp objects. Surely, to meet basic health and safety requirements, workers on the truck should be issued with protective leather gloves and or a grabber device. There are ways we could make the current system work better and possibly reduce costs. Biodegradable bags, the old style paper sacks, which I'm sure these days could be produced with a waterproof, rainproof coating. Much of the contents of large plastic bags is small plastic bags that can be recycled. Why not collect soft plastic for recycling? And knowing where and how recycling is actually recycled will encourage people to recycle. Education is the key. Another little point. Through this consultation process, I've read quite a lot of the submissions and heard from other small communities in the region that are frustrated by council telling us what we need or can do or can have, which isn't necessarily what we want or need. We would urge you to come and meet with your communities on a regular basis. I'm not talking about a formal meeting, but for you to come and have a look around, give us a call, and have a coffee and a chat. That's the way you'll get to know your communities and what we actually need. Yes, Sandra comes quite often, but she's got a lot of ground to cover, quite literally. And she doesn't make decisions on her own, you're all involved. And Marama, we often see Marama. I wonder how many of you have been to the car in the last couple of years. And I don't mean just drive to the boat ramp and out again. Happy to take questions, well done. You didn't come to a coffee though.
Right. Thank you for that question. Oh, that's not.
It's not a question.
Keep it on point then.
Thank you for a very comprehensive submission. I especially found interesting nasty stuff. It was very interesting. Yes, it was. So,
and they're sticking with crates.
Yeah.
So a few other crates.
Yeah. I don't have any questions because I actually have heard it a few times before.
I'm sure all your attachments.
Yeah, we happily have a third crate so we can separate.
No. Thanks for your time, Mario. Message received. Appreciate the effort you've put in to a very comprehensive submission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next up is Gerald.
Gerald. Welcome. Welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to present today. I live at 35 Tauringa Ave in Kuratau. We've been there for 4 years and just love every minute of it. And first, I think you need to keep in perspective that Kuratau and Amori are very much holiday homes. And there's very, very few permanent residents. Now, at Taupō Ave, we're more or less at the end of everything. And we love it that way. The cul-de-sac, and at the top of a cul-de-sac, about 7 o'clock, we got a private right-of-way. That's 9 of us up there that own that. We always bring our trash down to the foot, and we try to keep the animals and out of it and do our best. The only problem that I see with the existing system is a lack of responsibility by the owners. But of course, a lot of times the owners just come and then they leave at the end of the weekend. So there's a problem that's up behind. Now, the 2 permanent residents on our street live up on our little private right-of-way. So we have no problem bringing our trash down to the
to the foot. If we went with the bins, that means 9 properties, most weeks will be just 2. And it'll work out okay, so we can bring down 1 or 2 bins or whatever, but if it gets 4, there's no room for any more. But now, in the worst case, as you asked, is during the holiday period, you just multiply that out. And, you know, we have 18 at the bottom of our right of way. There's only a little area where the letter boxes are to place them, would be overflowing. The top of the cul-de-sac, there's 8 driveways servicing 9 properties. Now, you have to keep driveways open. The diameter of the top of the cul-de-sac is 15-meter circular. So, you know, you add that up, there's not enough place for people to put bins. It'll be chaos on the big weekends. There's also people like to have extra cars, so often on those big weekends, you'll have a boat out there or cars, which makes it totally impossible for a big truck to operate. So, you know, that's basically the issue. It just doesn't seem to work for a small holiday community. Now, if you take the status quo, the system we have here, and we find even with that, with just the one little bin, we like to go for walking the dog. Our dogs are on lead and pretty well behaved, but they've been known to get into a trash bag. But we're around to clean it up if we're there. The owners who just come for a weekend and depart, well, it's left behind. Who takes care of it? And they also, even if it's nice little bins, the bins end up sometimes in the road. You go for a walk, you have to bring the bins up to somebody's gate. We can't do that for everybody. We like to do our neighborly bit. That's part of being a part of this wonderful community. But simply, I'm saying, if you add up those numbers, the total number of bins in a place with it, you know, predominantly people who come for a day or 2 and they leave. It would be the biggest disaster we would see is on like these 3-4 day weekends when trash doesn't get picked up until later in the week and people leave early. Who's going to retrieve the wheelie bins? Right? They're going to be all, again, it just doesn't work. One thing, just looking to the future, and I think if we all take responsibility for bringing our trash to a facility, why don't we consider expanding the landfill area down at the bottom, take a piece of land and have a 7x24 recycling place where people can take their bags and go there. You can have cameras, record people coming in, coming out. You have put a bin into a little crusher type thing. If you get your receipt, you have a picture, you know who came in, who goes out, that dumps it into a bigger bin, which is empty. There'll be less bin left behind, there'll be less bins up on the streets and the highways. It'll be just more tidy. And the expense of anything we could do there would be a lot cheaper than going with the proposed bin situation. So that's basically all I have to say. Happen to take any questions.
Thanks, Gerald. Any questions? Simon?
Yes, thanks, Jerry. Lots of people feeling the same as you and coming to talk to us. Have you been out to Whareroa and have a look at their transfer station?
No, I haven't.
Go for a drive and have a look and see what you think about theirs. That's an interesting setup out there.
Yeah. There's lots of ways that can go, but it's simple, easy to establish.
No questions? Thanks, Gerald. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Now have the Turangi-Tongariro votes. Course, you know, position.
I'm just gonna shift the TV around a little bit, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
You get this thing.
We promised we won't bite. Welcome to you all. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on our submission. Some of the qualifications. Kaila, Tūrangi-Tongariro. Not listening. So, kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. The Turangi-Tongariro Club would like to thank the Taupō District Council for your continuous support, especially on the inception of the Turangi-Tongariro Hub around 9 years ago. Our submission reflects the views of our local Turangi-Tongariro now and back then. One significant issue that we need your further support in is providing spaces for our young people to gather outside of our holiday programs and school. Here today we have some of our Turangi-Tongariro Hub leaders. Most of our speakers today come from a kura Māori, so their strongest language is Te Māori. But even though they would like to speak in Te Māori, they understand the importance of ensuring that everyone understands their voice. So they are stepping out of their comfort zone, and they will be presenting today. So I present to you Turangi-Tongariro Hub.
Number one is our first problem today is road safety. Our problem with road safety is that our typically unsafe terrain in this area. Taupo Road, TPP, Turangi-Tongariro intersection to Mawaki, and Te Papamārearea Drive because of speeding event. Our solution to this problem would be by adding speed bumps and lights on our traffic speeds, slightly before and after school. Turangi-Tongariro also concepts that lights on middle school to keep them safe when arriving and leaving before and after school. Hello, my name is Hadley and I'm taking cover in the town centre wall. Our first problem is the slippery ground. Because the ground is smooth and flat surface, when it rains, the ground is slippery and causes you to slip over. Our solution for this would be to replace the concrete with cobblestones. Our next problem is that we have too many empty storage shops. Our solution for this would be finding more home businesses that are willing to fill in the spaces and work for remaining buildings to replace it completely. Our last problem for this cover is that our town is not marketed. Our idea for solutions to this is by adding daily seating areas by outdoor stage and having weekly pop-up shops that sell things to track invitation. Another idea is by inserting the map of Turangi that would be located in between our town supermarket and our shops.
My name is Martin Seeger. I came from the basketball. I'm passionate about basketball sports. What's old, I could run down and I'm saying it. So you could for the check and they are not saying to get the houses. The fund. You could for the weekend to the big mark. But it's in the
Kia ora tātou mai tēnei rā. My name is Paramapa. My name is William. Today we will be speaking about the sports centre, as we do not have a sports centre. With this new facility, it will allow us to hold big events such as community events, tournaments, and many other events.
One problem that I have is that if you look at the picture inside and outside, it looks really old and out of date. The thing that I want to do is I wanted to renovate the hoops, courts, windows, etc. If we were to renovate or to get a new event centre, it would attract the eyes of many tourists and our limite and would give a good impression on this town.
So a couple of our speakers that were speaking of this today couldn't make it. So
So whatever points we didn't cover, they'll be in our PowerPoint that we provided earlier. So thank you again for your time, and we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to speak today. Our rangatahi have voiced their desire for adults to not only ask them what they want, but to actually genuinely listen to what they have to say. So thank you again for your time, and we hope that you take into consideration some of our needs and aspirations in any further developments within our community, and support the Turangi rangatahi, our vision of my rangatahi, ki rangatira, from a young person to a leader. Nō reira, tēnā koutou.
By the way, we will have some questions.
Thank you for your submission and thank you for your presentation. That was awesome. Do you have questions? So, Sandra.
Kia ora, and a big mihi to all of you. That's a really, really great submission. We're not allowed to say how we agree with things or not, because we're here to listen, but that was very good. Can you tell me, please, your leaders, how many rangatahi have you got altogether in your hub?
So we have around 20 rangatahi leaders. Okay. So we run leadership programs in the first week of the school holidays, and whatever they do, they teach to the tailor during the holiday.
Okay. Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well done. Excellent.
Kia ora koutou, and the last three LTPs I really look forward to hearing from Turangi Rangatahi Hub. You're the strongest group of rangatahi throughout the district to present to council, so please keep it up. We do hear you, and like Sandra said, we can't actually agree or disagree with you today. My question is though, we're living in really hard financial times, so if there's a majority, that would be good. If you're a democracy, what is the one thing that you've mentioned today which would be on the top of the list?
It probably is an event centre.
It's like whatever you mentioned, renovation or brand new. Can you expand on that a little, or?
I just want to just say that it'll look nice if we got a new one or if we renovated the old one.
Kia ora, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to throw our next speaker under the bus, roughly Turangi Co-Governance Committee. I just wonder whether this is an opportunity we could have more regular updates or engagement with your group. So Tarks, I've got a preview that you might say shortly, but that was really good, and I think we need to continue a closer dialogue with your group going forward, not just once every 3 years, but yeah. Kia ora. I'll talk to Tarks offline. Thank you very much. Any other questions, teams? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Tēnā te mihi kia koutou ngā rangatahi. Since being involved with the council, I, like the councillors, have heard a number of times for over a decade of rangatahi voice. And I think it is time for council not to just hear, but win. So when we build this, that's more the issue that we need to push towards council and councillors. When we proposed the event centre that they've asked, the shovel should have already been in the ground, and the pushback was, oh, wait till next year. And the next year happened, and it's, oh, now wait for 3 more years. And the reasons that were given to us and to our community was, well, we don't have a plan. But the funny thing is, we had a plan. We had a cost. So what we want to ask from the council's point of view is to ensure that the plan is complete. So when there are some resources, we can just push play. So we need to find a way just to meet in the middle to complete the plan, not come back with other rabbit holes and saying, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, we need to further investigate. A plan. Our rangatahi have come for over a decade, have asked about outdoor hoops. Where is it on the plan? Doesn't exist. It's 10 years. Say year 10, at least they both have outdoor hoop and indoor facility. Why can't we just do both? Put both on a plan, completed, so at least when the resources arrive, we can push play, because together, the partnership between our young people, Turangi, Tupua, and the Taupō District Council, we can apply for other areas of funding. You don't need to do this alone. So please, get us to a stage where we have a complete plan for us to push play. Just looking at what we submitted as a group, I'll take most as read. But one point I do like to highlight is your continual support of the wastewater discharge to land and not water. Now, I'm quite an avid person in the water space in Lake Taupo. And as a young person, when I was our rangatahi's age, I was often swimming in the southern end looking for koura. Currently, you go down to the same waterway, and especially on low lake levels, the weed, the duck poo, it's fermenting and it's bubbling, like you can hear it. But now we don't even encourage no swimming now in the southern end. Imagine if that was in Taupo, you would definitely be advocating more. However, discharging nitrates into this small bay contributes to it's like aquaponics of weed down to Kāne Bay. And the significant contribution factor is sewage. And so we need to discharge our nitrates to land rather than to water. So we ask that you continue to support that. In regards, we put a strategic plan together, the governance group, and I'd like to come up to council and to go over this plan and for over the next 10 years. So it's something that we'd like to do as a co-governance, is to give this to council and to go over more detail. But if one of our young people was on an internship with local council, and they were part of developing this plan, and one of the contributions was a vision. Turangi, he wāhi kia poipoi ia ngā uru whakatupu. Turangi, a place of growth. Our young people want to see the growth. And so a couple of items we'd like to see, besides the Turangi Event Centre, the plan, the completed plan. One other aspect we'd like to encourage the council is for Te Reo Māori. I see that we're promoting a little bit more, and we're doing, our staff are doing really well too, but we need to do more. I was one of the first students to revitalise the language 40 years ago. Kohanga Reo started in Turangi, just over 40 years ago. Since that time till now, I don't think we've had a significant approach from the council to contribute to the revitalisation of Te Reo. So what we'd like to do is to further encourage through communication, through helping our community to become the first bilingual town in our district. This is in 10 years' time, right? This is a long-term plan. And so we see it throughout many communities where there are bilingual towns. They will love our township to have that bilingual. In fact, for our Te Korohirangi, for some of our students, that's their only language. And so in 10 years' time, when we increase from our school learning, we'll have people that may not be able to read the English sign and the English language that's coming up in our comps. So just encourage more use of te reo from our staff to our signage that we have around. I'm happy to take any further questions in regards to our submission.
Thank you very much, Jack. A bit of a conflict of interest really, because I was involved in the submission as part of the co-governance. However, it's always good to listen to talking. I want to ask a question because it happened prior to my time on council. The outdoor basketball court that was originally part of the slope of Te Papamārearea Māori, what happened to that?
Yeah, from the last conversation we had this, it was actually scheduled to be moved towards where the new playground is now. That was the thinking. One reason is we have a lot of that view of cars coming onto the park, heaps of cars onto the park. What I can say too, though, on that, if we look at the netball pavilion or the netball courts, it's got lighting up. So that's sort of the last thing that happened. And that was given to us for free from the prison. However, that court surface, it's a tennis court, it's full of cracks. And the response from officers from memory was that over the many years, it's been had its first foundation and then they just threw another seal on top and another seal. They say if you keep doing that with the cracks, it will only last a few more years and further cracks will happen. So the suggestion or the advice that was given to us was that actually it needs to be dug all the way and then the first layer kind of being put back on. So that is the tennis court, the netball pavilion. Turangi was popular for netball. I think we maybe only have one senior team of netball Taupo-Kaingaroa. We used to see like 12, 20. But there's no court because the courts are. The seal is terrible. It's really dangerous. That's a time.
Kia ora, Tats. Can I just thank you and your fellow Turangi-Tukua mana whakahono members for the great work and contribution you make to council. Can I just ask you, as a ratepayer, when I come down here, I'm really proud that I've contributed to Te Kapua Park and to this Te Matapuna facility. Has the feedback been really good about these new projects that you now have?
Yeah, definitely. And these happened from the last long-term plan. It was all scheduled in. And so, fantastic facility that's brought in many others from around New Zealand, really. We've had some national teams coming in with a great, fantastic facility. And it will just continue. I would really love to see the time. Recently, we had a Matariki event in town. It'll be interesting to see what an event would be with the lights out here too, with the facility. So it just provides more of those options that we just haven't had the facility long enough to provide or do those types of activities.
Kia ora, thank you, Tat.
Any other questions? First, thank you for your submission, your presentation, for your ongoing work on the co-governance committee.
Just before I go, I'd just like to pull a plug in just for our babies. This is a bit younger than our rangatahi here. The waterways for our babies to swim in, for our young people, is the river. Quite dangerous. We don't have a lakefront. they gotta go to the river. So just to encourage the council to support and advocate safety swimming for our young ones and find ways to encourage our young ones to learn how to swim before they hit the river. But yeah, that's yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Up next is Angela. Angela.
Welcome, Angela.
Hi, thank you for this hearing. I'm an individual person, so I'm coming at this from what affects me and people, my family and people that I'm in contact with. And I would like to state my case today, not as a submission, which sounds too much like being submissive, as grave concerns as to the direction this council and every New Zealand council is taking ratepayers. We the people voted you in to represent us. Remember that, please. Prioritise necessities, not status symbols. PDC priorities are not ours. They're all about huge projects for beautifying upscale buildings, etc., all with the intent of overextending council funds, so we have huge unsustainable interest to pay, to say nothing of the ability to pay off the debt. What's our grandchildren going to be saying about all this? I see TDC are beholden to the government in Wellington through LGNZ, not us, and are hell-bent on establishing 15-minute cities where we'll be encouraged, in inverted commas, to ride bikes and walk, but discouraged from driving cars. The evidence is plain in the colossal congestion Tongariro Street and Spa Road show us now, and the concrete jungle our lakefront has turned into to cut the towns in half. David Trewavas' pride and joy. I haven't spoken to a single Taupō resident who likes it. So how did it happen? Our rates and a bribe from the government is what I think, and many others do. We're watching you and know what you're up to. Stop it now. We're not going to continue to pay rates to an illegitimate corporation. Stop paying for all these consultants who keep getting it wrong. Keep it local. How much does it cost to buy this chemical waste you call fluoride and make ratepayers pay to put it in our water, slowly poisoning us, lowering children's IQ, dumbing us down into compliance? Then us who realise this have to pay for water filters to remove it. I will not pay for this any longer. You refuse to listen to the massive evidence of the side effects and toxicity of fluoride. That's a cost we can remove from your 10-year plan. I want to know how many councillors have water filters in their own homes to remove fluoride. Could I have a show of hands? Nobody. So you're all drinking the fluoride. I moved to Motuoka to get away from fluoride. Don't you dare put it in my water in Motuoka. Bloomfield waves his magic wand and tells everybody that we will have to have the same medication. Well, I don't agree. Fluoride is toxic. I was diagnosed as being fluoride toxic in 2015 when I lived in Taupo. I do not drink alcohol. I do not drink carbonated, sugary soda drinks or anything like that. All I drink is water. And I was diagnosed as fluoride toxic. I could not afford a water filter. I was a single parent. And that was the result of drinking Taupo's water. PDC place high priority on our beautiful lake and the quality of the water. But you can't remove fluoride once it's in the water, except by reverse osmosis and one other method. So it's going into our lake daily, deforming the trout etc. And what about the geoengineering contamination in our sky, floating down into the lake and onto our land? Get rid of the massive so I'll move on to the next thing. Get rid of the massive amounts of road cones everywhere. Ratepayers are paying for these too. Only use what's absolutely necessary. We're all sick of road cones. Generally, get out of our lives. We're perfectly capable of living happy, healthy, peaceful lives without all this government and local intervention. Mandates and COVID is a classic example. Don't you dare try that again. TDC has given our lake to iwi. Water is a human right, not for ownership by a small minority of people. And I know that'll get everyone's back up here, but I'm talking, we are New Zealanders. We are all New Zealanders. Council building, your council building, the 20-year lease, I've been told, is $1 million a year in rental. Totally unnecessary expenditure, another colossal council overreach, or just to have all council business in one place. And we, the ratepayers, are paying for it.
And you're at your 5 minutes. Is there a final comment to make?
You didn't tell anyone else to stop.
Hang on, I've repeatedly made that you've been sitting here for the whole time, so you'll be aware how we've been running this.
I haven't heard you say that.
Well, then, I'm sorry, that's how it works. Happy to have some closing comments, and then we'll throw it open for questions.
Okay. I mean, I wanted to get to the rubbish collection, but somebody else didn't deal with that about huge rubbish bins on properties and people having the ability to store it. I compost, recycle, use 4 to 5 rubbish bags a year. Never put food in my rubbish, so don't have a problem with dogs. And refuse to pay for this extra expenditure, which many of us can't afford anymore. The climate change agenda, we all know it's false, hijacked science. So why are we paying for it in our rates? Get rid of it completely. Out of our long-term plan, it's costing us hugely. It's what's being sprayed in our skies that's the problem. So, yes.
Thank you for your submission. Are there any questions around the table?
My grave concern.
Appreciate you taking the time. Councillor Campbell?
So you don't want fluoride in Motuapa. Are you aware of any plans to put fluoride in Motuapa by this council?
Yes, Ashley Bloomfield waved his wand before he left and said every community over 500 people is going to be forced to have fluoride, whether they want it or not. So, and councillors I've spoke to, including you, have said that that they'll get $10,000 fines, and that's what they're worried about, standing up about it. Well, that's been shown that is just like a calling the bluff, and that won't happen if we take fluoride out of the water. And I mean, my concern is that there's not even any consultation about it. There's not even, it'll just one day we'll be told it's in the water of Motuapa.
So I can help you with that. TDC have 17 water intakes that we draw from around the district. 2 of those are fluoridated. There is no plans to change anything else, and Dr. Bloomfield is no longer the Director General of Health.
I know, it's still
the speaker is at the front. So we have a question.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to I was the Crown appointee on the Taupō Management Board, which has redone the. I have a question. I'm just setting the scene. We did the Taupō Recreation Management Plan, which is about free lake access to all. So I just want to clarify with you: are you aware that the lake bed and the riverbed, etc., were given back to iwi by the government? I think he said the council. I just want to clarify that you're aware.
Council, I mean, this was the first council in New Zealand that sort of set this rolling.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I am aware of that.
Okay, so you're aware central government made that, and that the lake through the goodness of Ngāti Tūwhare Toa, have given free access to every New Zealander to use the lake for recreational purposes. Are you aware of this?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a point, it's a question just from something you said just now, actually. It is my understanding that there is actually budget in the long-term plan for future fluoridation. So additional fluoridation and what is that?
That's a conversation we'll have starting tomorrow. Is it?
No requirement.
No requirement.
So is that
So it's budgeted, but it's not required. I think it's one of the same question.
So we will have that conversation starting tomorrow. Are there any other questions for Angela?
Do I have your assurance that we won't be getting fluoride?
Do you have an assurance that we will discuss the matters before us starting tomorrow?
And
I cannot give you an undertaking of any decision right now because we're here to listen, not to deliberate, which we will do.
But will there be consultation?
That's what we've been doing for the last 3 months. That's why we're hearing you right now.
Okay. But I mean, like, this only happens once every like 3 years or so. A lot can happen in 3 years. Okay, thank you very much for hearing.
Up next is Phil Shields.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, councillors, council staff. See you all for allowing me to do my presentation. Possibly these people on the cedar should move it back a bit, should I?
I know we can see.
You see it okay?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
I'm presenting as an individual. I live in a Māori. I've the privilege and the pleasure to live in this area. I've lived in there in the Māori permanent for 17 years. I bought property there in 2001, so I've paid rates since 2001. Now, this is the first time I've submitted to any council, and it's been a bit of an eye-opener. I thought council had its hand deep into my pocket. It's clear a lot of people actually want to put their hands deep into council's pocket. At the end of the day, the money's got to come from somewhere, and the problem that I have with the long-term plan is it comes out of ratepayers' pockets. I never find the money somewhere. So next slide. A bit of history. This is the change in average wage and superannuation for the last 20 years. It's come from stats and from my own rates. So you see roughly double in 20 years. Wages have doubled. Women have got slightly more and they deserve it. But basically doubled. Next slide. Now this is what's happened to Taupo Council rates. Taupo Council rates have gone up 4 times. That's twice what inflation is. My rates have gone from $844 to $3,427 in 20 years. That's 2003. They're actually now at 4,021. So I've got to find $4,021 to pay my rates. That's what's happened to my rates in that time. It's worth pointing out, there's a couple of points on this graph. One is this peak here, that was 2012, 13. And that was a decision Taupo made to move from a land-based to a capital-based system. Now, the other point I'd like to note is that Taupo Council weren't capable of keeping its rates under check. Because for 4 years, after it cut it up to capital value, it kept its rates flat. 2017, something changed, but more seriously, 2021, rates have gone astronomical. People must have come from rocket lab to work here to calculate these, and I haven't done the proposed ones, but they go even further. they go straight up and it's like that. I'm not just talking about my property in more. I live in a very nice house, partly because of my own efforts. I put my own effort in to develop it. But this is a house in Turangi. So I've gone from a house where I have $1 million to a house in Turangi, which is value of $375,000. So I wouldn't say that's a better house, but the people in Turangi that have the same problem that I've got, from 2021, their rates are skyrocketing. Okay, standard. You guys are going to have to pick up the tab for this. Next one. Now that is the CPI. That's a CPI. If you'd applied the CPI to my problem, my rates would go from 844 to 1332. But council doesn't apply the CPI. It applies a local government cost index. Go to the next one then. And that's the local government cost index. Now, most people would not object if that was what their rates were based on, because my rates would be 1626 as of 2023. In 1626. Now, that shows to me a complete disconnect between the reality of people who pay the rates and have to live with a CPI down here and the different place where Taupo exists, where they're collecting rates of this level. I could talk for a long time about local government cost index. That sums up. It's a very clear index that gives an air of respectability. The council is shown acting with restraint and care for its ratepayers using this index. But the reality is, it's an index that can do anything it wants. We currently have our rates adjusted to a local government cost index plus 2.5%. In the proposed plan, we propose to lift it to 5%. Every ratepayer has to manage their own expenses and live within their means. The council can use a thing called the LGCI to up its income at any time. That's enough on that. By its own admission, the Taupo Council exceeded its benchmark. Council puts in its own benchmark. We try to live within this benchmark, this affordable benchmark of the LGCI plus 2.5%. They exceeded it because more houses were built. By my estimate, the rental units for 2003 haven't come in yet. But if I calculate the rental units for 2003 being a quarter of the ones for 2019, 20, 21 and 22, I could tell you there's 1,200 houses being built extra. Everyone knows that. You drive into Taupo and you can see it. You think, wow, this place is booming. Council must be doing very well. You're getting extra rates from it.
Those are 5 minutes. Is there any concluding remarks you wish to make?
What does council supposed to do is fix it, put it through by 5%. Sorry, good one down. In addition, Taupo Council has employed 55 extra staff at a cost of $4.5 million. The extra 1,200 houses they had would have brought in $5 million. It's already been spent. Many residents are struggling would have difficulty to accept this proposal increase. Right? Let's move on.
I'm asking you, do you have any concluding remarks? You've given 5 minutes to each speaker.
I've been
well over that.
Very quick. Yep. Go to the last slide then. Taking up last slide. Right. I'm saying no to increased rates linked to the local government cost index. I'm saying yes, sorry, that one down please. I'm saying yes to rates linked to the CPI. I'm saying yes to rates reset to the 2021 levels when they should never have increased, and then the index to the CPI, not the local government cost index. And if the state government of Victoria can actually put a cap on rates of the CPI, so can local council. They capped their rates of CPI in 2016. And it reduced the rates from 6% to 2.25%. Next one, then. So imagine if you did this, because it's the future of the young children here who are going to be your ratepayers. If you capped it voluntarily, you have no more disposable ratepayers, you have more cash and rates for pocket spending in the district, you have more ratepayers supporting local businesses, you have businesses employing more staff and growing, and you have a win-win for Taupō District, businesses and ratepayers. I rest my case, last slide now. And we still live in a fantastic place.
About that, we agree. Councillor Leonard has her online as a question.
Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. I sincerely appreciate it. I was just interested, you're clearly a very details person. Do you have any insights over what percentage your interest, not your insurance, your insurance costs have gone up over those 20 years?
Yes, definitely. Significantly as well. How much? Probably lost a bit less than that. Yes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions around the table? Councillor Shepherd.
Obviously, you're aware of how the CPI is calculated based on household spending, bread, milk, cheese. It doesn't include electricity, doesn't include insurance, and it doesn't include petrol, but a bit skewed in the lower side.
Include transport costs.
The council.
We're not going to have a debate about CPI. I asked them a question on this submission. We'll move on. Sorry. We can debate CPI.
No, I was just asking if he understood the difference between the CPI we have to work to and the CPI of households, because they're quite different. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Do you think the council, if they introduced some sort of rates cap, would incentivise the council to push harder against central government introduced intended regulations or legislation, which happens?
I think would enable the council parliament central government to get its fair share, because I think central government is actually causing a lot of problems. Gets a lot of costs to the council, and I don't deny that. But I would say if the council links rates to CPI or CPI plus 1%, whatever, it would be far more transparent than what it is now. And it would force the councils to concentrate on what their core business is. It would definitely force them to do that. But can I make a final concluding remark?
Absolutely.
I'm not standing up here for me, because I can stand this. I'm old. I'm going to be gone, and a lot of people want me to be gone, I'm sure. But it's these young people. And I stand here in admiration of the young people who come here to give a presentation. Now, I paid $4,000 in rates a year. I paid it for 50 years, 40 years in New Zealand, 10 years in England. So you could say, at present value, 50 years of rates at $4,000 is $200,000 of my after-tax money that I've had to find to pay the council. But I'm not saying that, but I'm saying to all these young people, when you go leave here, you finish your studies, you get a job, you get a house, you're going to be lumbered with $4,000 a year. If you want $3,000 a year, if you want to live in Turangi. And you're going to pay that for the next 50 years.
Councillor down.
Yeah, I know. All right.
And I.
Thanks. All right, thank you.
But again, I thank you for the time.
Appreciate your time. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. We have one final speaker.
Yeah, so next up is Angel Lee.
Angel Lee.
Do you mind if I stand?
Make yourself as comfortable as you wish to be.
I wish there was a couch here. I'm gonna take out my piece of paper. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Tēnā koutou. Ko Angel Lee Thompson Ono tōku ingoa. He akonga no te kura o Hirangi ahau. I am a representative and student of Te Kura o Hirangi. We appreciate the way our Turangi Council have worked tirelessly and consulted with the rangatahi in Turangi. They have listened and we now have a beautiful papatakaro. This project reflects our tile and hitori. More specifically, Turangi Tukua ngā kaitiaki o te whenua Kapua. Recently, we, or myself and others met with members of the Taupō District Councils, and we discussed further changes that need to be made regarding our playground. What we have in the new park is authentic. It is, however, more suited to our younger tamariki. We would love to be involved with and collaborating with and making changes to our basketball courts, creating resources targeted at our taiopi, aka older students my age. Some ideas that were tabled were new turf on the basketball courts, new hoops, nets and backboards, a caged-in area around the court to prevent the ball from rolling out, a cover for shade when it gets awfully hot, lights to enable our taiopi to play longer in the night, new playground equipment more suited to our older students. These, of course, could vary. On another note, I personally believe we should get something for Turangi, considering Ngāti Tūpare Toa are significant ratepayers who contribute greatly to the Taupō District. So in conclusion, I believe we should get support in building structures meant for older students, because Turangi needs to be better provided, because right now it's just the shadow of its former glory, and it needs to be brought back to its prime for our taiopi, for us, the future generation. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen of the Taupō.
Thank you for stepping out of the comfort zone. Are there any questions? That's okay.
What's your number one? What's your number one request then?
So those will have to be basketball courts.
Okay.
Just through the chair, at the Te Kura, do you have any courts or anything?
Yes, we do have courts.
You do, yeah. Are they netball, basketball?
Just basketball courts.
Basketball courts.
Any more questions?
Any other questions?
Whereabouts, actually, will we put the dirt bike track?
Dirt bike track, oh,
Yeah.
interesting topic. Interesting idea. Personally, I believe it should go through maybe somewhere by the bridge, by the river perhaps. Yes. And I would like to also add that it would be nice to have a dirt bike track, because people do ruin the fields out in town. It's all ripped up and everything.
That's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's hearings on draft long-term plan. This meeting is now adjourned and we will reconvene tomorrow for one more submitter, and then we'll be going into deliberations. Thank you to everybody who has presented. We appreciate the time and energy that you have put into this today. Going to call a halt.
Thank you.